we love you. This case comes from Wisconsin, Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is around a 20-minute drive from Milwaukee, near Michigan Lake. Now, one of the two girls who repeatedly stabbed a classmate shouldn't have been tried as an adult because she believed a fictional horror character named Slender Man would attack her family if she didn't kill the girl. According to her attorney. This other girl did not die, the one that was attacked with 19 stab wounds, and one just barely missed the artery to her heart. Now, if it'd been this way a little bit deeper, just minor, she would have had a heart attack, bled to death, and died. But she didn't. She managed to get out the woods and alert a man nearby, and he also called 911 and tried to get a description of who did this and what happened the best he could while he was waiting for the ambulance to come. Now Morgan pleaded guilty to attempted first-degree intentional homicide back in 2014 on the attack on Peyton Leutner. As I said, she was stabbed 19 times and left for dead in the woods. They lured this girl, which they had a sleepover that night. Friday night, they were sleeping over at the girl's home. And apparently they were going to kill Peyton that night. But that didn't happen because I guess they argued who was going to do what. So they couldn't do it that night. So the very next morning, they went out and said, "Come on, we're going into the woods." And I guess Peyton was getting a bit worried and she didn't really want to go. But they forced her into the woods, because apparently she must have got scared and thought they were up to something, because I guess they've been trying to kill her a few times. Even when they got to the park, into the toilets, they were trying to get her into the toilets, and they started arguing then who was going to do the stabbing. So I guess, with them whispering, I guess Peyton could probably hear that something didn't feel good, and her instincts were right to be worried. Morgan is now 16 years old, and she was ordered by the courts to spend 40 years in a mental institution. And the other girl, Weir, W-E-I-E-R, and now she is 17 and was committed to a mental health facility for 25 years. Now, mind you, these girls were only 12 and 13 at the time when they committed this attempted murder. But even so, the girl lived and didn't die, and these girls were tried as adults. And I know it's gruesome and all that, but there's something wrong with these two girls mentally. I don't know what else was wrong with them, but they sure had some mental issues going on. And for one to get 40 years in a mental institution, and one to get 25 years in a mental health facility, because there's a difference. It seems like they got more time than a brutal murderer. Not to say that this was not a bad case, but there's murderers that get less time. And they were only 12 at the time, 12 and 13. I think they were all 12 actually. And it's terrible. And it's like they really believed that this Slender Man was a real person. They were going to go to his mansion in the woods, in these woods, this camping ground that they were going to walk to. Mind you, they live in Waukesha, and the campground that they were going to walk to was 300 miles away. Now, who would have enough sense that they were going to walk 300 miles with hardly nothing to eat or drink, and not dressed for the weather, and only 12 years old? Now, even us grown-ups wouldn't even try to do that. So at the time when these girls were brought in to the Waukesha County Police Department, there on Moreland Boulevard, downtown Waukesha, one of the girls was advised of her rights. And Morgan, this is Morgan, she was advised of her rights, and knowingly and voluntarily waived her right to remain silent, or to have an attorney. Now, this girl is quite mentally ill, unstable, and she doesn't know her rights, and she doesn't know the legal system. And her mental illness was later diagnosed, but at the time, her mental status and her right to remain silent. This girl was 12 years old. Do you think she quite understood that? 12 years old, and there's no parent there. Well, they were questioning her because they said she waived her rights. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that was right. And it doesn't matter. At this time, she has just nearly killed somebody. The thing is, when you question somebody at 12 years old with some kind of mental illness going on here, she just said that she believes in Slender Man. fictional character? Don't you think that alarm bells would be ringing? But anyway, the police wanted to question her, and they went ahead and videoed her confession. She was also questioned at least for 7 hours. She was 7 hours in custody. She was 7 hours in the custody of the police. And she's also being questioned without an adult, a lawyer, her mother, her father, anyone over the age of 18. That was not with her. Now, mind you, this girl's been sentenced to 40 years in a mental institution. It did state that Morgan should never have been tried as an adult. She should have been in the juvenile system instead of being tried as an adult, a first-degree attempted murder. They do say that it took Morgan 3 months with targeted education after she was arrested to gain significant knowledge such that she understood the legal system and her constitutional rights, including her right to counsel. And this is the lawyer in the court motion filed in January, because they have filed an appeal, and you know how appeals go. They do take a while, and you have to have grounds. You have to prove your case for it to be a new trial, and her rights were violated. I don't understand why the judge couldn't see that in the first place, but you know, if you don't know your rights, I don't even know how this got to adult. And it wasn't murder, it was attempted murder. Brutally, yes, it was brutally done, and they believed in this slender man, but still, when they first interviewed her, and this is what they went by, they had these videos and used them in court. I don't think they got them legally. And plus, you know, she was underage. Who interviews people when they're 12 years old without an adult present? You know, I mean, and who let her plead guilty? Who let Morgan plead guilty in the first place? She pleaded guilty. This is why she's got such a bad sentence, because when she pleaded guilty, the judge sentenced her. Oh my God. Yeah, she deserves some time. 20 years maybe in a mental hospital with some kind of help. But to sentence her to 40 years is a bit too much. All three girls knew each other. All three girls went to the same school. and been friends a long time. And Peyton had done sleepovers before, and the parents didn't seem no reason for them not to have a sleepover. I mean, there was parents in the home. Mind you, I don't know how they thought they were going to get away with killing her in the home. That wouldn't make no sense, would it? Unless they tried to get her out in the middle of the night. But anyway, guys, they've been sentenced and they're going to have their appeals. So, what do you think of that, guys? What do you think of their appeals? Do you think these girls deserve appeals? Do you think Morgan, that got 40 years, deserves another trial? I do believe that both these girls deserve another trial, and pleading guilty without having a trial, that was that wasn't a very wise idea. I don't know whose idea it was for them to plead guilty. Yes, they did have the videos, they had their confessions, but she could have pleaded not guilty to it, and then insanity. Yeah, because they are insane. You got to be insane. You got to be insane. Even though they knew what they were doing. And lots of kids do kill at 12, 13, even 11. But they had been brainwashed from this character. I mean, it's like kids playing with those Nintendo games, even worse than Nintendo goes, those violent video games that they play. The ones full of darkness and, and all these killings, and they act on them. But even the person that did mass murder, killed, 10, 11, 12, 13 people, only got life in prison. Yeah, life in prison. Didn't even get the death sentence, but life in prison. But this Morgan, she got 40 years. And she has to serve that 40 years. There's no early release. So, that don't make sense, does it? So guys, let's have a discussion and your thoughts on this case. Do you think these two 12-year-old girls that nearly killed their best friend deserve such a harsh sentence? And do you believe that they should maybe get a different trial and maybe shouldn't have pleaded guilty and represented, interviewed by the police without counsel, without a lawyer, without an adult present in their state of mind, because they are kind of mentally ill, but maybe they didn't know at that time. But you can really see they did not understand their rights to be quiet, and that maybe they should have waited till their parents came before they interviewed them. There's so much to this case, and it took a long time for them to be put away, and and such. So let's have a discussion on your thoughts, and thank you for stopping by.